What is up, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome to today's episode. And today we're going to break down one of the favorite questions that I get when it comes to annuity planning. Should I be looking at a growth annuity or an income annuity? Because the reality is that it's not as black and white as it's made out to be. There's a lot of flexibility. If you're looking for the most income, we can actually generate income with the growth annuity as well. And we're going to break that all down for you to help figure out what is the best one for you to purchase. And maybe it's a combination of both, or maybe it's neither. But anyway, I just want to give you guys some good information about the differences between the two. And today is my last day filming down here. I'm actually packing up my whole house. I'm getting ready to move back to New Jersey for the summer. So just a little bit about me. I do spend a lot of time here in Greenville, South Carolina. A good part of the last 15 years. I always find myself coming back here. I just love it down here. Every summer, we got a family farm back up in New Jersey, and it's an all hands on deck, free labor family farm kind of gig. So I go back up there every June and August to throw some hay bales around or ride the tractor. So you'll probably be seeing a bit different of a background here in the coming weeks. But I'll be up there in the summer, and then I'm probably going to take off for Argentina. I just love traveling, hiking, meeting new people, new cultures, the different foods that people have, and I really enjoy it. It keeps my brain energized a lot. So you'll probably see me down there. Some pretty cool backgrounds here moving forward. But if you are looking at predictable income for your retirement, just some more guarantees as you're gearing up for retirement, this video is for you, because we are going to break down the biggest question on the growth annuity or an income annuity. What one should we get? And as always, if you want to connect with us, please go ahead, go to the description down below. There's a link to my website where you can fill out a form, and I will get in contact with you, and we'll go through a complete retirement analyzer report just for your situation. Because every annuity, as we always talk about, competes in different sections of the annuity space. One's better for income with this age group or that age group for joint annuitants. One's better for growth, and it just really depends on what your goals are. But what we're going to do today is break down all of this stuff just for you. So if you like seeing this content, please go ahead and like or subscribe down below. It does mean a lot to us, and my brain thinks in sections. So what I want to give you guys here today is a couple of different sections that we're going to go through before we get into all the meat and potatoes of the training today. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you guys a list of questions that you should be asking either yourself or your advisor, so they can help figure out what annuity product might be the best for you on the growth or income side. Number two, we're going to give some quick differences between the growth annuity and the income annuity, who they're better for and what they are and when to use them. And the last part, where we're going to spend probably most of the time, is actually analyzing them. And we're going to go through some case studies of what I believe some of the best growth annuities on the market. And then we're going to compare it to the best income annuity on the market. We'll be able to see what one comes out on top. And again, that is pretty subjective, so it's going to be different for every scenario. I don't know. But anyway, as we're going through part one, I want you to grab a pen and paper. So if you don't have it yet, I'll give you a second to go grab that. Or obviously, just click the rewind button a little bit. But part number one, the questions to ask yourself as you're gearing up for the retirement phase, or so the second phase of your retirement, the wealth preservation and the decumulation phase, being able to use all this money in retirement. Question number one, and again, all these questions we help you analyze on our meetings with you as well. But question number one, do I need guaranteed income, or do I already have enough? So ask yourself, is your Social Security, your pension, or any rental income going to be sufficient to cover all your living expenses? If the answer is no, we might look at an income annuity to fill that little gap that we have to make sure that you have guaranteed income coming in for the rest of your life. If the answer is yes, and your income is already secured forever, we wouldn't want to put any money into an income annuity. We'd want to look at more of a growth strategy and wealth preservation mode on that side. Question number two, when are you going to need to access this money? This is very important. Do I need to access it soon, or can I wait 5 to 10 years? And that answer will help us figure out if more of an income annuity or a growth annuity would be a good option for you. So if you need to wait just a couple years, let's say 2 to 3 years, and you want guaranteed income for the rest of your life, we'd probably look at more of an income annuity. If you don't need it for at least another 7, 10 years, we could look at a growth annuity to improve your financial backing. And then if you need to, you can turn a portion of that into an income annuity later on. Question number three, how much risk am I comfortable taking with this money? Am I okay with market volatility? Do I want something that's more guaranteed? If you want something that's contractually guaranteed from day one, so your income is set from the day that you transfer the money into the annuity contract, you're going to look at more of the income annuity. It's going to have a lot more guarantees. The growth annuity, you're still protected with the floor, so there's really not much volatility in there. You're either going to be between like 0 and like 10, 11% on the higher ends. So you'd be fluctuating somewhere between there. So more room for growth. But then obviously if there's years without any growth, you're just not going to see any growth on the account. You're not going to lose any money. We're just not going to see any growth. Question number 4, do I want to leave this money to my heirs or just cover myself? If leaving a legacy is important to you, we're probably not going to use an income annuity, because income annuity, you're kind of do trade up your asset and you're going to use up all the money that's inside of that to generate the most amount of income. They're not good for legacy options. You're going to look at a growth annuity. It typically retains more value moving forward and to the next generations. Number 5, are you going to lose sleep about outliving your money? This is the retiree's number 1 concern, is outliving their retirement funds. If this is extremely important to you, you could look into putting a portion of your assets into that income annuity to make sure that your income is never going to stop. That paycheck is guaranteed regardless of what the markets do ever again. If the answer is no, you're not going to lose sleep about outliving a lot of your money. Maybe you have a decent bit of cash already set aside. You're probably just going to want to use a simple basic growth annuity. And as you guys already know, I don't like using the bonus annuities because I think they're kind of like marketing gimmicks unless you're trying to get out of a currently bad annuity contract. So the next part here, break down real quick the benefits or the pros and cons of an income annuity and then a growth annuity, and who they're good for, then or when to potentially use it. So income annuity, you are trading your assets. So if you have, let's say, $1 million, put 500K into an income annuity, you would never purchase an income annuity for the most amount of growth because you pretty much are trading your asset for future income. And that income, what I do like about the income annuities, it is guaranteed from day one. So whatever numbers that we're looking at on the screen, you know exactly when you turn the income on, what your income is going to be. So that's obviously one of the strengths. They're very predictable. They're very simple to understand, and it removes longevity risk. You no longer have to worry about outliving this income that's coming in from the annuity. The weaknesses on the income annuity side, there is less flexibility. So again, I would never purchase this to see a lot more cash growth. That's not the purpose of an income annuity. It's probably not going to leave behind as much to your heirs as we discussed before. And it often locks in your payout. So if it's, let's say you turn income on in year 5, it's 50K, it's always going to be 50K. It's not going to increase or decrease. That is going to be locked in, which could be a pro and a con. On the growth annuity side, so if you guys are following along, we already know how like the fixed index annuities work. You're going to have a floor of 0%. So if you put in 500K, the markets went backwards for the next 10 years straight, you still have 500K. But when the markets go up, you're going to participate in those gains. Whenever the markets are doing well, you're going to see a percentage of those gains. You're just not going to go backwards. The big strengths on the fixed index annuity, on the growth option, is it's all tax deferred. You're principal protected, meaning the money's never going to go backwards with no market losses. There are also no fees on most of your growth annuities. If you're looking at stuff with fees, I typically just don't like to use. It gets a little bit too complicated in your advantage. And there's also flexible withdrawal options. So I'll show you in a second that you can actually use a growth annuity to generate income as well. We'll take a look at what that looks like. The weaknesses, if you want to look at that, the growth is usually capped or limited. So if you're just trying to see the biggest bang for your buck, you're not going to be getting into the annuity space in the first place. You're just wanting to see, high risk and high reward. That is not the goal of the annuity side. And if you want income out of the growth annuity, it takes a little bit more planning because just the income's not guaranteed. It's going to depend on what the contract value is and the amount of money that we're taking out, and a little bit, and again, how the markets are doing on the back end too. And let me share with you a quick little note that I put together, and just to kind of show you some of the quick differences on the growth side and the income, the pros and cons, just in case you are taking any notes back at home, that you have something like this to go off of if you want to take a screenshot of this. Pros and cons between the growth annuity and the income annuity. So some of the pros and cons of this. So we're looking at the purpose will be up top, the market risk, liquidity, legacy value, income guarantees. On the growth annuity, it's for accumulation and protection. On the income side of it, the purpose of it is to generate the most amount of income. So there's different purposes for each annuity. There's no market risks in either of them. However, with the income annuity, there is a fee that's typically attached to it. So even if the markets are stagnant, with the growth annuity, you would stay the same. The income annuity, you would see that going down a little bit just because we're trading our asset for future income. Liquidity side of it, you will have a lot more liquidity in the growth annuity. Income annuity is going to be less flexible, especially if you did a single premium income annuity. Those are extremely less flexible. I really don't like to use those unless there's some odd scenario where we just need to turn income on today and you don't care about leaving any legacy behind. In terms of legacy value, with a growth annuity, it's often higher. The contract should retain a lot more of its value to pass on to your heirs. And on the income annuity, it's going to be a little bit more limited. On the income guarantees, on the growth annuity, it's going to be optional. Some growth annuities have a rider fee that you can add on to it later on, but typically we don't like to add a lot of those. We just like to keep it simple. If your account grew up to $1 million, you would take out 70K. The next year went up another 100K. You still have more income to take out. On the income annuity, it's going to be built in from day one. So all the income that you're looking at again on the income annuity is going to be guaranteed from the first day of the contract. So now let's get into the fun stuff that I want to look over here today. And we're going to break down a 55-year-old male in the state of Colorado. That does matter a lot. Some states are a bit different with what companies have offerings in those states and what indexes are available in those states. And 55 is also important because that's going to kind of tell us what's our longevity in front of us. So there is no one size fits all. And both the income annuities and the growth annuity are going to be powerful options. But let's see, if we're looking at income, should we go a growth annuity or an income annuity? One of my favorite annuities that I like to look at is going to be with a company called Lincoln Financial. So what we're going to do, we're going to compare Lincoln Financial, which I believe is the strongest growth annuity on the market, and then we're going to compare it on the income side. And remember, on the income annuity side, you can use stuff like RateWatch.com or AnnuityGenius.com, and you have to pay for those services. But if you're an agent, you pay for it. You can ask your agent, if you're a potential client, just ask your agent to pull it up on the screen so you can see what annuity contract is going to guarantee you the most amount of money. So I'm going to pull up the screen here. We're going to take a look at Lincoln Financial, what's called their OptiBlend Index. We're going to see where that 500K can get us, and we'll take a look at their indexing options too, just because that is very important as you are making this type of decision, where how much is that money going to grow, and then we'll compare it and we'll see what one you guys prefer for your retirement here. So this is what we're looking at right now. I think my screen is loading here, is going to be Lincoln Financials. So one of the reasons I like Lincoln Financial quite a bit, their OptiBlend product, they have really cool indexes when it comes to the S&P 500. And I love the S&P 500 indexes, again, just because it's tried and true. All those volatility control indexes, if it's like daily risk control with the S&P is decent, but these like the BlackRock dynamic ones and just, some Barclays, Morgan Stanley accounts with other companies, I'm not a big fan of them just because there's not that much data behind that actual index. So I like to use 3 indexes here, typically 30% in this triggered index, 30% in the cap one, and then 40% here in the 1-year participation rate. So what this trigger one means, if the S&P 500 is ever 0.00001% positive, you're going to get 8.25. If it does 5%, you get 8.25. It does 7, 8.25. It does 9, you get 8.25. The 1-year cap focus, so this is very, very well priced on the growth annuity side, would be 10.25. So you're still protected with that floor of 0%. If the S&P goes up 5%, you get 5. If it goes up 10, you get 10. If it goes up 12, you get 10.25. And then the participation rate focus one. This should give you a lot more opportunity for growth when the markets are on fire. What this means is that you're going to see 62% of the gains inside the S&P 500. So if the S&P 500 goes up 10%, you see 6.2% of it. If it went up 30%, you would see 62% of that 30%. So this does very well when the S&P 500 is doing very well. And we would also rebalance this stuff typically once a year to see, what your risk tolerance is, what you're liking, not liking, what you want to see a little bit different. So there's a lot of different options here that's really nice for the clients to choose. And even their fixed account, which does update every year, right now is at 4.85%. That's very solid. So if you put it all in here 1 year, you're getting guaranteed 4.85% for that year. So now what I want to show you is the Lincoln Financial. We're going to compare like the incomes on it. And actually, before we do the Lincoln Financial, I think this will just be good to, not a brain teaser, but just kind of test us a little bit. We're going to pull up AnnuityRateWatch.com, and we're going to say, based on the scenario we're talking about, 55-year-old male in the state of Colorado, what kind of income could I generate after 7 years? So starting year 8, what kind of income could I generate? So what we're looking at right now is one of the websites that I like to use when we're analyzing what annuity company is going to give you the highest contractual guaranteed income for your retirement. And this will change based on how many years you're going to wait. If there's a joint annuitant on it, meaning like a spouse would also get paid out if you passed away, that will change all these numbers. But we can filter by the best rated companies. So obviously we want to choose A-rated companies, and then we're just going to see the companies down here. So you're going to see that there is one company up here, Emeritus, and also this AIG one. If you look to the right, they have what's called, it's in the depleted benefits. This means that your payout's going to be a lot higher the first, with Emeritus 13 years, then it's going to go down. So I don't like to use those when I'm looking at this. So it looks like Delaware Life and AIG. If we look at the benefit payout, if we began in age 62, with Delaware Life, we'd be looking at about $58,646. With AIG, we'd be looking at $57,021. In between the two, I'd probably just end up going with AIG. I think the company's a bit stronger. Nothing bad against Delaware Life, but I would just go with what I believe would be the strongest company on that if it's going to be that close to each other. And what also is really cool with the income annuities as well, there's what you see this enhanced payout section up here. So heaven forbid you can't perform 2 out of the 6 daily activities. Like you can't, everyone's company's a little bit different, but if you can't bathe yourself, eat by yourself, there's, you can't go to the bathroom by yourself, there would be a payout. So pretty much if you have to go to like a nursing home, the payout would double. With most companies, it's for up to 5 years. So it'd be the $117,000 if it was with Delaware Life, and you can do that for up to 5 years. Then it would just revert back to that 58,646. And these numbers would be guaranteed. If you turn that income on after 7 years and 1 day, this is exactly what the income would look like. So, we're looking at roughly $58,000, 57. You see, I know we talked about National Life Group a decent bit. We'd be looking at 56,000. Typically retain a little bit more of the cash with them as well, but all pretty solid. They're all within $1,000, $2,000 of each other, all these top companies right here. So now we know this. We know, hey, if I turn this income on, it's going to get me, let's say, just say we went Delaware Life, about $58,646 every single year till the day I'm dead. And potentially my spouse as well. If you put a spouse on here, the income would be a little bit lower if they are a bit younger, just because they have more years in front of them. So this would change. But now I just want to use this number right here so we can compare. We're going to go back to Lincoln Financial and we're going to say, hey, we had the same 500K, and we're going to put it into the indexes that I was talking about, that trigger performance, the cap focus, and also S&P 500. So those are the buckets that our allocations are assigned to. And we can always rebalance those once a year. And we're going to put the same thing on here. So we're going to say, hey, we put in $500,000 up front, and we're going to see, can we actually generate the same or more income? And the answer is it's going to depend, cut into the chase. But as we are taking a look at this, you see that, hey, we put in that 500K. At the end of year 7, we're going to take out $60,000. And if we look at the account value over here, even though we just took out $540K in those next 8 years, but we still have $758,000 sitting inside the account. And keep in mind, right, if this ends up doing like 6%, this would change these numbers quite a bit. So this income is not 100% guaranteed, but pretty much we're living off the interest that this account actually grew to. So, if you want to retain more control of your asset, we would end up looking at more of a growth annuity, because you see right here, boom, you get this $60,000 per year. And as long as the market doesn't tank the next, 3-4 years, this should last you for the rest of your life. And again, it just gives you a lot more flexibility on it. So if you didn't take these $60K out each year, imagine what that account value would have been. So let me just scroll down. I'm going to show you 2 other things. So right, this would be like more of like a doomsday scenario that we're looking at here. This is, hey, we put in the 500K. And that we have a guaranteed minimum, so meaning 0%. We did not earn a penny. The S&P 500 flatlined for the next 15 years, which if that happens, we all got bigger issues at hand. But now, let's say we take out those $60K per year. Well, in year 15, we can only take out $18,000 because there was only $18,000 left in that contract. So now it would be gone. We would have taken out our same $500,000 that we put in, and the policy is kaput. All right, so that would be in an Armageddon situation. If we look down here, I don't like looking at the best years. I just think they're too aggressive on the calculations. But even if we look at more of a conservative route, they had a 6.29 in a down market, which is still very solid. You see here, we do start depleting some of our account, right? So it went down just because there was a down year. So it's just, we don't know how much longer that account's going to last. But even, you took out this $240K, you still got 661 in here. Even if you took out 60K and the markets went flat for the next 10 years, 11 years actually, you would still get an extra $60,000 spread across those 10, 11 years. So right, it's still, would bring you to 75, and then theoretically would run out of money if the markets never went up again. So it's hard to say exactly if the income annuity or the growth annuity is going to provide better results. The income annuity, again, is just going to be a lot more guarantees. You know exactly the amount of money that you have coming in. On the growth annuity, you retain a lot more control of your asset. It's not guaranteed. And as we said earlier before, there is no one size fits all when it comes to annuity planning, right? We could split it 50-50 between the two. So you have more growth opportunity and you have just more guaranteed income. But what we like to do whenever we're sitting down with our clients, we put together the whole analyzer report that's going to break down what amount of fixed income do you have between Social Security, pension, any rental incomes coming in, and what's the income gap that you have. If you need to make 10K per month to be comfortable and get all your bills paid, and you're only at $8,000, we might look at potentially transferring some to an income annuity to make up that gap, a $2,000 to $3,000 difference for your guaranteed income, to make sure that every month, hey, hands down, you got the money coming in. And then we put the other bit into a growth annuity to still provide you a lot more flexibility. And if you're not sure what percentage of your retirement portfolio you should be allocating to more secured assets, whether that's bonds or annuities, we like to use what's called that rule of 110. So it's going to tell us what percentage should we have exposed to equities and more in secure accounts. So if you take 110 110 minus your age, let's just say you're 60 years old, 110 minus 60 equals 50. So that means no more than 50% of your money should be exposed in the markets. And the reason that is really powerful for you is if the markets start tanking, your retirement's tanking. And if you start taking money out of those equity accounts, you're running a massive risk when it comes to this sequence of returns risk. If you're taking money out in down years, your portfolio is going to flatline in no time. So I hope this was very helpful. If you guys ever do want a second opinion on your retirement plan, our link is down below in the description page. It's going to take you to 360financialgroup.com. You'll see a little bit overview about annuities, some of the best annuity companies that are out there in 2025 as we're recording this video, and then also into the contact section where you can just fill out your information and we will get in contact with you. Anyway, I appreciate all of y'all staying here to the end of this annuity training. I hope you guys found a lot of value because this is one of the biggest questions that we get in regards to retirement planning on the growth annuity versus the income annuity side. And so many people are just pushing the income annuity to get those guarantees. Well, hopefully you saw now that you can actually get potentially more income and retain a lot more control of your asset if you're using the growth annuity. But again, both of them are great products. It just really depends what your specific situation is. And again, if you want to run through that, links down there. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time.